For what purpose does the gentleman in the 37th, Doug Pushkin, seek recognition?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask unanimous consent to address the House.
The gentleman in the 37th asks unanimous consent to address the House. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to try to make this brief and get to the point. I'm going to try not to be partisan about this, and I'm going to try to keep my cool, because right now I'm pretty upset. Walking into the chamber today, and I realize that it's West Virginia Republican Party Day, and that party day today, and that's great. Okay, I'm also the member of a political party, and that's wonderful too. And I'm going to try not to make this partisan, but as part of the display out there, there's a poster with a picture of the planes flying into the Twin Towers in New York on 9/11. And underneath, there's a picture of a sitting member of Congress, Representative Omar, I believe from Minnesota. I find it distasteful. I said so. I went over and spoke with the people at that booth that I believe is sanctioned by a political party. They're out there with them. And I expressed my disgust about something like that really, I believe, points out a hatred and a mistrust of somebody because of their religious background, because of their religion, because that congresswoman she's not from Saudi Arabia, she's from Somalia. She entered this country through a refugee program, and I can tell you that personally, I'm proud to live in a country where somebody can come into this country with absolutely nothing and wind up in the halls of Congress representing the state of Minnesota. That makes me proud to be an American. But I'm disgusted by what I see out there, okay? And maybe it's a little bit personal for me because, I'm also a member of a religious minority who, in the early 30s in Germany, you might see a similar poster about a different religion. And that's one of the many reasons why that bothers me. All I can say is if it was Democratic Party Day today and there was somebody promoting hate speech with a poster that denigrated a member of a religious minority in the people's capital, outside of the people's house, if she was on the other foot, I would condemn that. And I would disassociate myself from that because it's ugly, it's hateful, and there's absolutely no place for it in American politics. That's not in the country that I love, not in the state that I love. We all give up our time during this time of year to come up here and serve our constituents because we love this state. Well, I love everybody in the state, no matter what they look like, who they pray to, who they love. I'm tired of it. It disgusts me. And I personally wanted to stand up publicly and condemn that poster out there. I'm ashamed of it.
The lady from the 38th, Doug agrees. For what purpose does lady seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I would also like to address the House very briefly.
Lady from the 38th asks unanimous consent to address the House. Are there objections? Chair hears no objections. Lady may proceed.
I'm also going to try to be very nonpartisan. It's not something I have to try really hard at because that's just how I feel in my heart. So I applaud the gentleman for his passion and for the intent of his words. My issue with what I saw outside has to do with another truly American foundational issue, and that's freedom of speech. So while I may not agree with everything that is out there, I do agree that freedom of speech is something that we have to protect. Even if we don't agree with it, maybe especially when we don't agree with it. There are times when people in this chamber, my dear friends, my colleagues, will get up and say something that I fundamentally, completely disagree with. But if you ask me, well, will I fight to make sure that they have the right to stand up and do that? Oh yes, with every breath in my body. Absolutely I will. And I'll do it just as hard for something I don't agree with as I will for something that I happen to personally share that belief. So I'd like to ask the members of the body, when you see something that you disagree with, please don't respond in the way that I unfortunately saw with my own eyes, where you call the people names that I'm not going to repeat in here, where you barge through the door and hit the doorkeeper, which I also saw with my own eyes while the pledge is going on, because you're understandably upset. Now, the person who did this is actually a really good person. And while these motivations that make us behave this way they're good motivations, like we care, we want to do something, we have to remember that our actions are supposed to be representing our districts back home, and that's not how our people want us to act. If we get righteously angry, that's okay. This is the place, right? This is the place where we get to stand up and speak for what we believe in, and we have to make sure that those words and actions while we're in this house are appropriate. So I'm going to ask my dear friends and colleagues to please remember that.
For what purpose does the gentleman from the 50th, Doug and Angela, seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like permission to speak to the body for just a brief moment.
The gentleman from the 50th asks unanimous consent to address the House. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. The gentleman may proceed.
While I agree with the gentlelady from the 38th, we have freedom of speech, and that's something we have to respect. Let me explain to you something that we experienced just a short while ago. I just got done speaking to the speaker, and I wanted to talk to him before the end of the session because I want to tell him how much I respect him, because he's been fair and he's been respectful of all members. And I told him, as a freshman delegate coming in, I respected him as my speaker. I walk out of the chambers and I see a discussion going on with Delegate Pushkin and a lady with a display, which was reprehensible. But, like the gentlelady said, she has her freedom of speech, and I respect that. And while I was talking with Delegate Pushkin, I said, you're not going to change her views, come on, let's get back inside. The Sergeant of Arms of this body had enough nerve to say to us, all Muslims are terrorists. The Sergeant of Arms of this body that represents the people of the state of West Virginia said all Muslims are terrorists. That's beyond shameful. And that's not freedom of speech. That's hate speech. And it has no place in this house, the people's house. And I am furious. And I don't want to see her representing the people of this great state in this house again. Muslims are not terrorists. Christians have killed people. That doesn't mean Christians are terrorists. I'm a Christian. I'm a proud Christian. I'm not a terrorist. There's no room for that hate in this house. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Reports. For what purpose does the gentleman from the 50th, Doug Caputo, seek recognition?
Unanimous consent to briefly address the House.
Gentleman from the 50th, Doug Caputo, asks unanimous consent to address the House. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. The gentleman may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm the one that kicked the door open. That's how angry I was. And I went over to that poster and I said it was a racist poster. That was me. I'll own that. I'll own that because that's what I believe. I tried to get in here between the prayer and the pledge, and I'm a member of this house, and no one's going to keep me from opening that door. But the point I'm trying to get to, I have always preached to freshman delegates, and people who've left this body got up and said, Mike Caputo taught me not to make it personal. When it gets personal with me, it's bad. It's bad. There's no place in these halls for the crap that's going on out there. We can be as partisan as we want when it comes to elections. But is it proper to do it here and take away from the business of the state of West Virginia when we got doorkeepers going nose to nose with members? Sergeant at Arms going nose to nose with members? We have created an anger that I've never witnessed in 23 years in this body, and it sickens me. It absolutely sickens me. But yeah, I kicked that door open. I'll own it. I did. And I said some things I don't normally say. So the point should be, We shouldn't do what's going on outside here, whether it's the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. There's no place for that. Come down, talk to your delegates, talk to your senators, preach your politics. But that incited anger like I've never seen before. I suggest you, Mr. Speaker, we review that. We review that policy and don't let this happen in the House. It's taken away from our work, and that's just wrong. It's just wrong. And I apologize for my anger because I don't like getting this way. I'm very passionate, but I don't like getting angry. And I'm very angry today.
The gentleman is 62nd. For what purpose does Delegate Bibby seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, freedom of speech is paramount.
Does the gentleman ask unanimous consent to address the House?
Yes, I do it.
The gentleman is 62nd. Delegate Bibby asks unanimous consent to address the House. Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Gentleman may proceed.
Freedom of speech is very dear and near to me. Let's hold it all within the House. And Mr. Speaker, we got lots to do today. Let's move on to Montana.
For what purpose does the gentleman, the 37th, Delegate Pushkin, seek recognition?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Unanimous consent to address the House. Briefly, extremely briefly, I mean at this time.
Is there objection? Chair hears no objection. Gentleman may proceed.
I would fight for anybody's right in here to say whatever they want, no matter how stupid it is. I believe in the freedom of speech with every ounce of me. I'm a strong supporter of the First Amendment, and I would never ask somebody to take something down. I rose to condemn it, and I would hope you would too.
Report to standing committees.
The CIA is trying to have a coup in Venezuela. I haven't been watching since I've been here, so they might be doing it right now. And we should all be putting our voices out to stop the U.S. from having regime change for oil in Venezuela.
We must do everything we can to keep U.S. hands off Venezuela. You can find these links in the video description, or you can click here or at the end of this video. Use the YouTube tools to share this video. Share the link to this video with everyone you can to get the word out. Hands off Venezuela. And please subscribe and click the bell. Even subscribing and clicking the bell helps. And also check out this video from the Bolivian president, where he goes into detail about the wrongs of U.S. foreign policy. There's an annotation to this video around the end of this video or in the video description.